This is Lagoon Radio.
All right, good morning. This beautiful Monday morning, the 27th of June, year 2022. And, according to observation, the month of June is actually gradually running to a close with full force. And I can't wait for July to actually come. Because the month of June...
So we have about 3 to 4 days left.
Yeah, three. 30 days at September, April, June, and November.
You're not doing that right now.
Excuse me.
All right.
All right. This is welcome you to the newspaper review here on Lagoon Radio, broadcasting live to you from Marina, Lagos. Hope you're doing well this beautiful Monday morning. My name is Olabisi Simidele Oke, and I have with me Taiwo Adeola Shabi Olegbe, aka DJ Shab. Good morning, Shab.
Good morning, Simidele. How are you and how was your weekend?
Okay, I'm fine, I'm well, and according to report, my weekend was busy as usual, so thank you very much for checking. Okay, today we will be having quite some number of newspapers. The time is 25 minutes to 10 a.m. and we'll be having quite some number of newspapers, and in no particular order. We have the Nigerian Pilot, This Nigeria, the Authority Papers, Business AM, This Day, the Leadership Papers, National Economy, New Telegraph, Daily Independent, the Nigerian Tribune, etc., etc. What have you? So I will be starting with the Nigerian Pilot, and the major headline on the Nigerian Pilot is says, "Defend yourselves. Zamfara government urges residents to buy guns, defend themselves against bandits. Directs Commissioner of Police to issue gun licenses to people qualified, willing to use them. Says a decision became necessary due to spike in banditry across the state, and says that it's part of government commitment to secure lives, property of citizens in Zamfara." You can continue reading that on page 8. And in our news this morning, we actually talked about something like that, and I don't know if it's a yay or a nay for me, because I'm still trying to weigh that decision for residents to have firearms, to be in possession of firearms. I don't know, is it a yay or a nay, because I'm trying to think that if there's a kind of maybe domestic what would I even put it, domestic argument, so to say, and if you're a kind of person, if you're a type of person that cannot control your temper.
I was going to say that because in as much as we all want to protect ourselves, because the country is, it has gone very, very scary as it is. I wouldn't suggest that. It's a good idea, but I don't think I want to support it, because you're about to say, if you're nino fufu, if you're very aggressive and you can just control your anger, you can control yourself at every slightest opportunity, you're triggered. I don't think. We should just leave it for the security personnel to do their job. I think is the best.
Okay, maybe coupled with fasting and prayers.
Yeah.
All right, you can get the full details on page 8 of the Nigerian Pilot. So to page 6, Nigerian Pilot reporter Yomi Karim dies in questionable circumstances. You want to know the questionable circumstances? You can check page 6 of the Nigerian Pilot. Catholic priest Father Borogo killed by suspected bandits in Kaduna. That's on page 7 of the Nigerian Pilot. IGP gets 48 hours to arrest APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu. That's on page 7. And
I saw something on this, and I don't want to talk much on it.
Because I
saying he didn't attend the school.
Yeah,
he
from
said
last
he
week.
attended,
Yeah,
and
he said his certificates were looted and all that, and that's been going on since
and this is
last
coming
week.
directly from FBI to the EFCC. So I think it's enough for us to believe.
It's actually questionable because the last time I checked, our beloved country, Nigeria, you have to pass through some levels of education before you get to the tertiary institution, graduate, and all that. You need to go through primary school, secondary school, and the last time I checked, if you don't pass some O-level exams, you won't be able to.
You can't even sit for JAM.
So.
But as it is now in our country, I think once you have your first living certificate, your first school living, so that's a primary school certificate. I mean, you can contest for the president.
You can contest, but what I'm saying is, you don't have a first school, a primary school certificate. You don't have a secondary school certificate, and your tertiary institution certificate just surfaced, and you said your certificate was looted. I don't know. It might be misplaced. The certificate might be misplaced. And the last time I checked, any misplaced certificates, you can actually rectify it. It might actually take time, but someone of your status in the country to be faster. You understand. So you want to get the full gist. You can get that on page 7 of the Nigerian Pilot. And NECO begins this year's SSC today. That's on page 5. Should I be excited on behalf of the students? Is your son writing? No. He's not. He's not writing the SSC. Okay. Army explains heavy movement of military equipment in Imo. That's also on page 5. Still on page 5, bandits kill 3 vigilantes in just cause, kidnap many in Niger State. And on page 6, Governor Diri says upsurge in crime related to drug abuse. And I think we saw something like this in one of our newspaper reviews last week. And I'm actually in support of that. So to get more details on page 6, and you can also stay tuned to Lagoon Radio between the hour of 5 p.m. to 5:45 on our drug-free Niger show to actually get more on this. On page 8, Autumn urges Christians to pray over worsening insecurity in Benue. It's everywhere. We're all praying, and we pray that God would actually answer our prayers and look mercifully upon us. Lastly, on the Nigerian Pilot, MTN's mobile bank suffers a 22 billion naira fraud. Drags 18 banks to court. That's on page 7 of the Nigerian Pilot. That'll be all for the Nigerian Pilot.
All right, moving on to this Nigeria without taking the one Simi has taken. The one on Zafara, residents to get guns. That one is on page 4 and 6. But at the very top of the paper, something interesting. First Bank unveils single-digit loan for female entrepreneurs. That's on page 20. Simi, is this not an opportunity for us?
Actually, I've been saying, that I've actually been saying something like this on my mobile app for some time now, and I'm trying to let me key into the blessing. Hallelujah, somebody.
It's actually a good thing. Where you can read more and find out the criteria of obtaining the loan. That's on page 20. The major story there: tears again in Catholic Church. Tragic hand. Bandits killed 2 priests and others in Kaduna and Edo State. We are sad and angry, says Catholic Church. All of this you can read on pages 2 of this Nigeria. Aquarium Madu, immigration reviews identity of alleged organ donor. That's on page 2. Still on the matter, you can read more.
Yeah, and moving on to read something on that there was a 21-year-old that was actually arrested and wanted to donate maybe one of the kidneys to a Madu's daughter or something. So I think there is actually maybe kind of story on that, really.
All right, you can get more on page 2 of this Nigeria. And lastly, the Buba Galadima exclusive, Buhari and Tinubu and High. That's on page 9. You can read more on the inside of this Nigerian newspaper.
Okay, still talking about internal organs. This is from the authority papers. 230 kidney patients battle weekly for 12 dialysis machines in Kano. I'm still searching for a running mate, says Tinubu. That's on page 20 of the authority papers. And disquiet in APC as NWC members replace suspended directors with cronies. That's on page 9. This is still on Ekurimadu. Ebonyi government calls for calm, says it's reaching out to Upo's family. That's on page 10. And the main headline for the authority papers says that Zamfara declares total war against bandits and terrorists, approves use of gun for residents, bans motorcycles to recruit fresh 200 community protection guards in each emirate. That's all on the page 2 of the authority papers. It will be more disaster returning APC PDP in 2023. Kwankwaso once. I would have asked of Sharp, is it a year or a nay for you, boy? I remember the last time I checked, you were not a politician.
Well, I really don't have to be a politician because this is our future, and we just have to look farther.
Yeah,
We have to look farther than now.
beyond our noses.
Yes, we have to look at the future. What these people, you have to be able to use your instinct. Forget the party right now. Is the person. The party, this person is just representing the party.
Yeah.
So the person himself, can he or she do the job? Can he or she take us out from all of this we are going through right now?
Yeah.
So whether or not it's PDP, APC, NNPC or NNDP, sorry, NNDP, whoever is best, whoever is just, let him win.
Then, personally, I think it's high time we start to actually think about personality, not party, like you said. Like before, we were always fighting and talking about parties and all that. But I think now it's a thing of personality, is a question of personality. So even if the party is not popular, the personality actually should actually be a kind of criteria to as well. Okay, I have on page 15, terminal operators decry decaying ports, seeks clarity to raise investment. That's on page 15 of the authority papers. And lastly, Governor Uzodinma to unleash 10,000 military in Imo forests. Gives bandits 10 days to surrender. That'll be all for the authority.
Surrender. I'm speechless. On to the Guardian newspaper, Zamfara directs citizens to carry guns. That's on page 9. Makinde OK's recruitment of additional 500 Amotekun officers. That's on page 5. Call your witnesses. Court tells the Lagos indigenes in marginalization suit. That's on page 5. Era of ethnic clashes over, says Oluovori declares. That's on page 9. And the major story, ASU strike, job market dependency ratio worsening as youth remain idle. And the writers to that, graduates swear to false affidavit to meet up age requirement. Parents seek government intervention. Okay, so with the high level of unemployment and underemployment, prolonged strikes by the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU and its Polytechnic counterpart, Academic Staff Union of Polytechnic ASU, have raised concerns about the country's raising dependency ratio, as a majority of youth are becoming idle by the day. The dependency ratio is a measure of the number of dependents aged 0 to 34 and over the age of 65 compared with the local population aged 15 to 64. Am I seeing right? Okay. So basically, another problem here. Because when I'm going to look for a job and then you tell me you're looking for a 25-year-old, 30-year-old with 10 years experience, how am I supposed to? You can't have that privilege and you can't even have 10 years experience when you only, if you only attend a private institution or your education is very fast and you can't tell me at 30 years you already have 10 years experience. Of course, I know someone that finished the institution, university level at the age of 20, plus or minus.
Sure.
Should go for NYSC 21. How would you expect someone of such at 30 or at 25 to have 5 years experience or 10 years experience at 30? But really, I think as soon, federal government need to attend to these people because they are really jeopardizing. We cannot stop talking about it. They're jeopardizing the future of these people and they're becoming idle. But if you know what is good for you as a youth, just find something doing. Learn a trade, learn something with your hand. Be creative with your time. And don't let us, we should stop blaming it on them. They're doing what they can do right now. And let's just make a lemonade out of the lemon they've thrown to us. I don't know if I'm making sense. Yes, like it's me, we see life has given us lemon. Let us make a lemonade out of it.
And that reminds me to this trend on social media, though I'm yet to confirm it, that the federal government, I think there's a kind of law that wants to be passed or that has been passed or something like that, that if you want to get employed, maybe as a parent, if you want to get employment in Nigeria, you must allow your children to attend Nigerian schools. So something of such. And I was actually discussing with someone, and I'm like, okay, if you tell me that if
I'm capable of sponsoring my kids abroad,
then even you that are part of our leaders, where are your own children? And that's the thing that we really need to. That eyes really need to open to, because ASU is on strike, SANU is also on strike, the universities that are practically shut down. Students are at home, loitering all over the place. Even those that are actually into one business or the other, they are trying to patch things up to make ends meet and all that. And I don't understand. Are you comfortable with it?
Well, you understand. You just don't know how to put it, because the whole thing can be depressing. Abuse, that the word.
It'll be all right.
All right, you can continue reading on page 6. Trouble looms in power sector over activation of PPA. That's on page 8. UTMA offshore Afrexim Bank. Afrexim Bank signed project preparation facility financing deal. That's on page 8. It's quite tiny, blurry, but you can get more stories on the inside of the Guardian newspaper.
All right, on to these day papers. Again, NNPC fails to remit monies to Federation account in May as petrol subsidy hits 1.27 trillion naira. That's on page 6, and we've actually taken some of the headlines here on the previous papers we took. And lastly, on this day papers, article says, judge me with my track records as vice president. You can get the full details on page 12 of this day papers. That'll be all.
All right, something new on the leadership. Stringent conditions delaying Dariye, Nyame, and others released. That's on page 6. And still at the top, 1.5 billion naira debt. 15,000 Kano students to miss NECO examination. That's on page 12. Abuja Kaduna train attack. Passengers shown Lagos Ibadan rail corridor. So the March 28, 2022 explosion that affected Abuja Kaduna passengers train service has contained to impact negatively on operations of Nigeria Railway Corporation, as passengers have shown the corporation's other rail corridors, leading to significant dip in revenue. You can continue reading on page 7. 2023 presidency. Okay, so Tinubu is still searching for a running mate. You think you're qualified? You can put in that on page 7. Ilorin prominent politician Elipo dies at 101. That's on page 10.
Wow, that's quite old.
And the major headline there, we've talked about it. Women pays assassin 7,000 naira to kill husband in Adamawa. This one is giddy gone. That's on page 12. And Ekwere Madu's donor's passport valid, genuine, says immigration on page 6. And of course, we have pictures of dignitaries on the front page of the leadership.
Okay, let's talk about business on Business Day papers. Naira crisis scares investors as inflows deep. Okay, even me, I'm practically scared. So you can get that on page 31 of Business Day papers. And more troubles for households as landlords hike rent further. I think the rent hike, it's not actually a new thing really, because basically after you pay your first 2 years the normal price, after the 2 years expect hike in rent. That's Nigeria for you. Okay, stocks beat fixed income as inflation subdues return. That's on page 30 of the Business Day papers. I think that's all we can take on the Business Day papers.
All right, I'll just take a few ones on national economy at the top. Rising inflation, NPR, high compounding naira volatility. APCON says, and the stories that you can continue reading on page 5. Fuel scarcity, federal government in dilemma over deregulation and subsidy payment. And the writer says, marketers says current supply framework cannot guarantee end to scarcity. You want to read up more on page 4. And then there's a leader to watch on the side of the paper, Chidima Nwankwo, passionate marketing communications expert. You can continue reading on the inside on page 4. First Bank launches single-digit loan for female entrepreneurs. That's on page 5. NUPRC to issue licenses to successful marginal field awardees on Tuesday. That's on page 4. And still we have pictures with the dignitaries in front. You can see more on the inside of the national economy.
Okay, on to the New Telegraph. I think our time is far spent. Bank loans to government rise by 4.94 trillion naira in 6 months. And CJN shortlists 29 appeal court justices for Supreme Court bench. That's on page 27. Abuja, Lagos-based APC detractor will not succeed me, says Okowa. That's on page 2. And we have a strike as ASU, other unions not invited to last Thursday's meeting. This is from the Labour Ministry. Oyetola welcomes 10,000 PDP members into APC, says it's dawn of a new day in Osun. That's on page 25 of the New Telegraph papers. And lastly, on the New Telegraph, study actually says that stress raises risk for immune aging. That's on page 8, and I think I'm in support of that as well. Because if you're going through stress, you will age quickly, and before you know it, you'll be having.
Do you think you see a woman of in her late 40s or early 50s, and then you think she's about 60 years or 70 years, and then you see a woman of 70 years, like
late 40s, early 60s? That one is still fine. You've not seen someone in his or late 30s with gray hair.
Of course, we know stress.
Some are hereditary, but some are triggered by stress.
Through stress.
So I don't know how we are going to spot the difference. Okay, I think our time is fast spent. Sharp, you're taking from Daily Independent.
Okay, I'll just take this one from Daily Independent. Pure Forex repatriation hurts Nigerians' international investment status. Analysts say foreign investors are averse to investing in the country. It's quite tiny, but of course the story is on the front page. You can continue reading on the inside there. 73.8 million passengers passed through Nigerian airports in 5 years. Aircraft movement rises to 1,148,495. I tried.
I should even clap for you for that.
It's unlike me, right? All right, the story is on the front page, and still you can read on the inside. Brazilian returnee arrested with cocaine in private part. That's on page 2. All right, Serap sues Buhari over alleged missing 11 trillion naira electricity fund. Yepa. All right, you can read on the inside on page 8. I'm sorry about that. The money it shook me somehow.
It's getting you excited.
Ow. When we are having grid collapse every now and then, it's like we have it every month now.
I know, at least you're calling huge money.
Okay. All right. I think that's much you can take. Every other story there's something we've talked about earlier on Daily Independent.
All right, that'll be all for today's edition of the newspaper review on Lagoon Radio. Do not forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, Instagram and Twitter at Lagoonradio.Ng. And to catch up with all our shows, you can visit our YouTube channel on Lagoon TV, and for more news update on Lagoon.News. At 10 a.m., we'll be having the Moment of Truth by the Venerable Henry Adeleko. My name is Olabisi Simidele, and
Taiwo Adela Shabiolegu. Good morning.
Do have a nice morning.
This